To take off these early model Cherokees, it's 3 10mm bolts. Now on this side, you can see they're kind of wonky. And that's because this is the side that got hit. This housing got replaced. That's the original housing. You can see this one's a bit shinier than that one. But that one's not beat in, messed up, or crooked. This one is. So this one has all the lighting issues. So this is the main reason we're doing the whole swap anyway. Using the side that's working, I'm determining which of these 5 lights is which. So as you can see here, I've got the blinker going. This is gonna be the blinker. So I'm gonna take a little bit of that tape, wrap it up, write blinker, and continue on. Now I think this is also a blinker. I don't think it's working, this tiny little one. So like I said, this side had some damage. This side is pretty well kept. Now I've got all of the sets of wires labeled, as you can see. Now we're gonna fish them through back into the cab and work on them in here where it's, you know, dry and a flat surface. 2 things. Once we do that, we're going to start stripping them apart. Now for some of them, you've got 2 or 3 wires. Now for the ones that have 2 or 3 wires, those are multi-purpose, such as this run brake in here. So right now I'm going to unscrew this bottom panel, a couple of screws on the side panels, just so they'll pull away a little bit, and I'll be able to fish these wires in and work on them right here. Got all the lights out, and I fished the wires through by taking the panel off. Mine came with a trailer tow package. Don't think it was from the factory because it was very shoddy. Not well done. But these disconnect with this clip. It's just a simple lever click. And so I got these out. I'm going to take them inside and start cleaning them up, figuring out where my brake lights went. Because as you see, here's all these. They're connected to things. That's my brake light. It's not connected to anything. A little area where they're gonna set, nice ventilated room, and they can sit right there and dry in a warm, heated house. I clean those down, wipe them off with paper towels. I don't have any paint thinner or mineral oil to get the grease off, but dry paper towel, scrub it down. Elbow grease will get that right off. So I'm gonna do primer and this paint. But remember, before you do any painting from these, once you paint them, non-returnable, non-refundable, test fit them first. So take one of the old lights off, make sure this all lines up good. If it lines up good, boom, start spraying down some paint. So they're just sitting in the slot right now. My trunk isn't actually all the way closed, and you can see 2 things pretty well here. One, this was the previous owner's beautiful attempt at trying to fix fiberglass. I think they just spray painted it. Not how you fix fiberglass. You can really see it in this light. Second, you can see, you know, there's a curve to the XJ. It doesn't fit perfectly, but I think I'm gonna do my best to have it fit square up inside of the tailgate more than I am gonna try and fit it here, because this is a flat piece of metal trying to match up with a rounded piece of metal. It's just not gonna work. We can get it as close as possible though, so let's get these things painted before it's cold out. Oh wait, it's already freezing and dark. So a helpful hint, don't let the spray paint can explode in your hand and then all over this can. Good thing I had this facing the inside towards us, because this can literally just exploded the second I started spraying. That's a first, never had that happen. So I'm gonna let this first coat dry, go find a better can, and nobody's gonna ever see the inside other than myself. So start hitting this stuff with the good stuff. Let's dry it overnight. First coat of the Rust-Oleum, and I think it looks great. I mean, you can see and feel this texture. It is pretty cool. Sadly, it's... So what I have here is a test light plugged into what I have just tested and found out is the brake light. So I only had 4 sockets instead of 5. Didn't have a brake light. Don't know why or how, but that's just how it was. This was the brake light, or it was in the place where the brake light was supposed to be. All it had was a ground, no other connections. So I was testing the input from the vehicle as to where this brake light could be coming from. And then my theory was I would correspond whatever wire or socket I find the brake light in here to hopefully one of these 5 wires. So I'm gonna set you down and I'm gonna go hit the brakes and we're gonna see if that light turns on. Yeah, that's what we like to see. So that's a brake. That means this wire, this white wire, is our brake light. And now we can start trimming the ends of these. So this white wire connects to this white wire on here. So I will just start trimming these 4 sockets, and we are going to start connecting we'll take this inside and we'll start trimming the ends of it and connecting it to the LED adapters. And then it should start flowing pretty quick. So we've got everything plugged in, and you can see the tail light. I'm sorry, I have to hold the ground together. That's all working. And if I sit on the brake works, tail light works, and the turning signal works on that light. Sorry, the ground's not in. So now that I have this all sorted out, I'm going to duplicate it on the other wire. Reduce risk of being electrocuted, I brought this all inside, and I wanted to show you all the different parts and their part numbers that you would need. So 2 PTF R56, these are the big lights. M5FA9, that's your side light. M4FW13, that's your reverse light. Now these two use a double prong PL2S. You'll need 4 of these. And the big light uses PL3R. You'll need 2 of these. Now I've got it laid out. This is a harness I haven't modified at all. This is the one we've cleaned up. We haven't started it all together, but it's all connected and it all works in the vehicle. So connection that goes to the vehicle, connections that go to the tail light, or this blue one, the reverse light connection is this green wire. The rest of the wires go to this box. This is a Tekonsha 119130. And what it does is it allows multi-functionality in your tail, brake, and turn light. So for this to do all 3. And it also works for both the right side and the left side. These 3 wires just go to the left side. On the right side, it receives the turn signal information from this harness. It hasn't connected yet, but the turn signal wire is going to connect to here, and then it's going to send a turn stop. Now it's getting the stop from this side already, right here, that red wire. So you don't need 2 input stops, just the one works. So stop, send that to the passenger side, and once those are connected, you'll have turn, tail, and stop on both sides. And then, like I did here, you're just going to connect your side marker and your reverse marker just straight to the harness. You don't have to use that box. So you got 5 wires coming out of here. You have your brake, which is this white with a brown line, your tail light, which is this blue with a red. You've got a turn signal in the middle down here, your reverse, and then this black one is your ground. Now, the use of this, you can use 2 of these, or you could just use 1. I'm using 1, and this is how you do it. So you have the whole system set up over there, but on the right side of the vehicle, this green cable receives the turn signal from this tan wire right here. So you connect these 2, turn signal goes through the green wire into here, where it also can receive the stop signal. And then stop signal, and the right turn are combined together because there's a circuit in here that allows it to do that. And it sends it through this green and black wire to the main light. Right in the center, the red, is stop and turn. So this thing can, at the same time, because we used this circuit, slightly illuminate for your taillight, and then illuminate more when you brake, and then blink while doing those 2 illuminations with your turn signal. So one of those traces just the stop the turn left and right, and then you can use the tail light when you have to use a ground. You don't have to use the tail light through this box. You can directly wire on both of them back to the tail light on their respective harness to get the tail light to work. The only thing you need to connect to here is the stop, the left turn, and the right turn, and the ground. It's really straightforward. You just have to pull it out of the vehicle, lay it all out. You'll figure it out. This wire is between 18 and 20 gauge. And pretty much what you do is you insert a quarter inch of your bare copper, put it into the crimp in the center. As you see, there's a little ridge there, so you want both ends to be touching, so about a quarter inch, so they meet in the middle of this half-inch centerpiece. Put it into the 22 to 18 of your wire cutter crimp machine, and it will crimp down, sealing clamping the metal wire into it. Once you do both sides and you crimped in, you heat gun it until it's nice and sealed. And I'm replacing every single juncture on this wire harness just for longevity's sake, just for organizing sake, just so nothing starts a fire in the car. Because some of these junctures like this taillight juncture over here, this is just tar paper. It is such poor quality, and I'm sure it's from the factory. Like, they just did whatever they wanted back in the 80s when they designed these things. So get rid of these, put some nice new junctures on. I had a couple that I've already opened up on that harness that were totally burnt out, totally could start a fire, or just give you electrical issues, and might as well solve them and prevent them while you're here. Also, Mountain Dew, please sponsor me. Alright, so now that we've got the heat gun, the purpose of this is to not burn out your mother's hairdryer. And we're going to take these watertight heat shrink butt connectors and disassemble all the connections on this side. And before we do that, we'll just work on this side because it's already disassembled. So you slip the assembly, a butt connector, over each wire, and then you bring the wires back together, twist them up, connect them, flatten them, bring the connector over to the center. You want the middle right over the metal, and then you crimp the metal down, and then you heat it down, and they will be solid. And then we're pretty much ready to install. So I'm gonna get to crimping and heatering, whatever you want to call that. And we've got the two wires that will run they'll run here under this plastic board that's actually right here right at the moment. It will run under this plastic board between the two side walls, just so it'll be out of sight. It won't be worn by people stepping or throwing things in here. You could just run it under your carpet or under your mat, but I'd like to, put it out of harm's way as best as possible. So as you can see here, we're gonna run these 3 prongs through the firewall right here. And then we're gonna start putting the boxes on. All right, so this is when you do the, boogie dance, if you can actually dance, unlike me. That's why I only dance in private, not on camera. As you can see, all of our lights are working. We've got blinkers, we've got taillights, we've got reverse lights, we've got the, yellow signal indicator so people don't T-bone you lights. We've got all the lights, and they're all shrink wrapped, they're all soldered, and this is an overwhelming amount of wires to look at. But if you take this project one step at a time, you go slow, you label things, you don't rush ahead, you can do this. Everything works, it works correctly. It's an incandescent to LED swap for $200, and for a vehicle made in 1984, that's pretty easy. I was able to do it halfway into my garage, as you can see. So the next 2 steps are, one, a couple of these fitment areas. Oh, that's because I'm jiggling the ground around right here. A number of these fitment areas, such as the housing of these lenses, don't fit in the JCR perfectly. We're gonna need to Dremel off about a 1/4 inch here, a 1/4 inch there. and do a second coat on the housing, and then we'll have it thrown together in the morning. Crime of opportunity. Since we took this off to pull up the interior plastic piece to run the wire under it, I've soaked it in navel jelly, and I mean, that is just ridiculously cleaner. I've only soaked it for about an hour, so I'm going to soak it for a second coat and then take a wire brush to it, and I bet I can get all that rust off, and we'll have this thing looking brand new. So this is supposed to go on the interior here, but as you can see, it doesn't fit all the way. So we just need to sand down about a ½ inch of this ring. And as you can see, it does say top, and you do want to think about the orientation of the wires. So for what part you're sanding, you don't want your wires to be sticking straight down. So have it offset to the side here where the wires will be going up. So they're not going to be bent or rubbing on anything. A space there to make it fit, and I've dremelled down the space here to make it fit. But the nuts and bolts fit here, and they fit on the side marker great. But on the reverse light, or the lower indicator light, there is not enough space on the flange here between the housing. As you can see, that is just a very small amount of space that the nut will not fit down. So I'm going to notch just a little bit with the Dremel into the housing to try and make that fit. So as you can see, this is why I Dremeled it out, so that these bolts and nuts would actually clear the housing, because it was absolutely just way too small. I don't know who was engineering, or if anyone was engineering this. Some guy in Taiwan, it's looking like. But all in all, a little bit of dremeling, and they fit great. And other than the dust, this is gonna look so cool. And it does come with 2 different size bolts, 6 for the side blinker, the side pocket here, and 14 for the 3 and 4 on the front of the, or back, depending on you're facing. And these little ones are, I don't even know what size Allen wrench that is, but some very random size. Took a while to dig through. Just heads up, have plenty of Allen keys on hand. So I've got the new passenger side wired up. I've got one of the bolts holding it in. Now I'm going to wire up and 1 bolt the driver's side, and then I'm going to final check all the lights are working. And once they're doing that, we're going to put all 3 of the bolts in, but not all the way tight yet, because we're going to want to close the hatch. And you have a choice if you want to make the body line match up perfectly on the exterior, which is a curved piece of metal, even though it's a boxy looking vehicle, a curved piece of metal meeting up with a almost totally flat light box. So you can try and do that, or you can try and make it fit in the hatch body lines as much as possible. I think I'm going to go with the hatch line just because it's a far more 90-degree than the body is more of a curve. I think the 90-degree will match up a lot better, and that we'll get a lot more value out of making that fit perfectly than we will trying to get the body to fit perfectly. And now, for the first time in 4 years of owning this vehicle, I have all of my working taillights. Let's get them lined up, and we are done. So, just trying to catch you up here. When I had these bolted up, there was a little bit of a lip hanging over the edge here. Like that, it's about this much on the side, which is kind of a ridiculous amount. So, we're gonna drill out these 2 bolts, or these 2 bolt holes with my, here it is, Christmas tree bit. These things eat metal, so, you know, slower the better. And it does say some drilling required on the website, and they didn't lie. It should say some modifications required on the website.
We've got lights. and they all work. Tested them all again, and after I drilled those holes out just to get the fitment a bit better, I did him with some anti-rust spray paint just so the bare metal wouldn't rust away. But we've got everything fitted up pretty much as best as I think it ever will, because like I said, they're a slightly curved surface trying to fit with a totally flat surface. So there's only so well you can get it. Now these were the JCR boxes. They cost me about $160. Super bright LEDs, fit up really well for them. Some modification, some drilling required. Cost about $40 for the lights and the connections. I think I spent about $30 on the paint, the wire crimps, and the wire crimper. But those were all really helpful. I think they turned out a great look. I love how this fake texture came out. I would definitely spend the money. I think it was like a $15 or $20 can of paint. Definitely worth it. And I haven't put the interior back together, and that's because we have a project coming next week where we're gonna reorganize with some products at the rear end of my Jeep. This is the trunk area, and you could do this to any vehicle. You could do this to your Volkswagen Jetta. Like, subscribe, comment if you liked the video. If you didn't like the video, if you have any questions on how to do an LED swap or any type of electrical, I would love to try and help you. And remember, if some guy can do it,